Welcome in to My Dogs Are Barking on MPW Digital. I'm Landon. I'm joined by Austin. This is what went right, what went wrong, and what was missing for Mississippi State against Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. Austin, man, I'm so glad this is our final one of these from the season. There's been a lot of what was wrong, a lot of what was missing against fill in the blank of whatever team. But I'm excited to get into this final episode with you. Before we even get into it, you and I got to experience this game in Oxford, very first time getting to go to Oxford, and honestly had a very good time, man. You want to tell them a little bit about your experience in Oxford because this was your first time in Oxford as well, right?
Yeah, it was. It was an interesting time. I didn't think it would be. I mean, maybe just because we were 2-9, but it definitely wasn't as wild as I thought it would be, which I guess, that's a good thing. But but yeah, I mean, it was, a nice little town. The place we had lunch at was incredible. It was absolutely unbelievable. It's where like Lane Kiffin does his radio show every week. So that was really, really cool to see. It was packed out, and obviously everybody was in Oxford to see the game, but it was a very interesting place.
That's right, man. I think Boar, I think was the restaurant, something like that, some kind of like New Orleans kind of style. It was delicious. That's 100% true. And we weren't able to get credentialed for this game. So instead, we sat in the Rebel Club, which was very cool. It was very odd because I didn't see any other Mississippi State. I didn't see any people at all wearing Mississippi State up there, which obviously makes sense. But anyway, it was nice. The food was great. Honestly, time in Oxford was pretty good. Outside of getting a ticket on my windshield, it was a a good time. So we're going to talk about the game. Ole Miss obviously wins this game 26-14. Mississippi State's defense played as well as they possibly could have played in this game. I think there's actually some good to be taken away there. Um, Before we get into it, we do want to let you know that My Dogs Pod is presented in part by Arpa's Coffee Bar in Starkville. Arpa's understands that great food and drinks are best enjoyed in the company of friends and loved ones. Their warm and inviting atmosphere creates a great backdrop for laughter, conversation, and shared memories. And listen, whether you're just seeking a good spot to catch up over coffee, or just a place that has a good place to celebrate special occasions, a good late night hangout, their friendly staff is dedicated to ensure your experience is nothing short of exceptional. Located in the heart of Starkville in the Cotton District, mention My Dogs Are Barking that you heard about them on My Dogs Are Barking podcast, and get 15% off of your entire order. Very good deal. And then also, it is kind of coming to that part of the football season where a bunch of people are getting fired, a lot of buyouts are being paid, and a lot of people are getting rich, Austin. But hey, let me ask you this, Austin: what does it mean to be rich? Maybe it's less about reaching a magic number and more about discovering the magic in life. Skip Langley is your Batesville, Mississippi Edward Jones advisor, serving clients in the area and across the state. Count on him for financial strategies that can help support a life you love, because the key to being rich is knowing what counts. So contact him today at 662-563-9843, and together you can find your rich. Edward Jones, member SIPC. All right, Austin. Well, aside from our time in Oxford, also people have talked about Oxford's traffic for a little while. I mean, I know it's game day, but dude, that was rough. I mean, I think in total it was 2 hours in the time of dropping our friend off, and then just trying to get to the highway to get out of town. It was wildly packed, but Mississippi State could not get out of town fast enough. Man, they finished 2-10 after this loss to Ole Miss. Mississippi State had a very good start, starting off 14-10 there at the end of the first quarter, and it was a really weird first quarter to watch Mississippi State perform the way they did. And for a second, you thought, well, hold on, like what's happening here? Because Michael Van Buren in this game, he had two very very costly interceptions, but he looked impressive. I mean, so much so that he was making some throws and really kind of putting in the breadbasket for a couple players that even Ole Miss fans around us were like, that guy is really, really good, really talented. But look, Austin, let's ask what went right in this game for Mississippi State against Ole Miss. What went right?
We talked a lot about, I mean, all season long, just the disruption. I mean, just the terrible defense that we've had all season. And they didn't come to be a bad defense on Friday. I don't know what happened, but Coleman Hutzler had his guys ready to go, and they played like they were ready to go. If I had to pick, I'm not going to pick the whole defense. I'm just going to pick the secondary. Again, we had no push on our defensive line. They did not play well at all. But on the secondary, when guys were making plays, I mean, guys that haven't had a good season. I mean, there's not one player other than Isaac Smith, or I guess you could say Stone Blanton, but nobody else has had a good season. But I mean, there were guys that were just running around, flying around, and were making plays defensively, especially in the secondary. You got a lot of talented, highly rated wide receivers over there, and we were making plays. Kelly Jones has not had a great season, and he's been benched for a little bit of the season, midway through. But he had a pretty good game. Bryce Pollock, again, another guy who hasn't had a great season. I don't care what PFF says. He had a pretty good game. Jordan Watkins, the wide receiver, he did have a missed touchdown, and from Ole Miss, yeah, he had a drop touchdown. But I mean, other than that, the secondary played very well. And then again, I mean, they didn't, when we did not blitz a lot of guys, we did not have any push, and Jackson Dart had all day, but we were still able to get some disruptions. And yeah, I was happy with how the secondary played for the final game. So I would probably say that is my right.
Yeah, and really, Mississippi State's game plan was pretty good. I mean, they told Ole Miss, try your best to run on us, and honestly, that's what they challenged them to do. And so Dart didn't really have a massive day because they thought, well, man, everyone's playing so far back. Let's run the ball. And outside of that really big run by Bentley, there wasn't like any sort of crazy long runs, you know. So I mean, in this game, I would say what went right. Mississippi State's defense, I think, played as good as they possibly could play. I'm going to be honest with you, Austin. This game for Mississippi State losing it, I mean, we never thought they'd be able to win it. They weren't ever really in position to win. Although having 4 tries at the 1 yard line, you do that. It's a 5 point game. Like only a 5 point game at that point. So but they were not able to get in. I think this game is solely on the offense. The defense gave them a position. I mean, going into the fourth quarter, it was what, 20? Was it 20 to, yeah. Yeah, because they were going for two. It was 20 to 14. And I think, right? Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I'm not getting that wrong. I think that's it. But anyway, yeah, 6 point game. But the defense just could not hold them any longer. They were exhausted, couldn't get off the field, and this game was on Mississippi State's offense. The defense played as good as they possibly could have played versus the team as quality as Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss has playmakers all over the place. Whenever you think about what went wrong in this game, what ultimately was the thing that you point to go, man, because of this happening, this is one of the reasons State lost the game?
Well, because we've had a good run game the past, probably 2 games, I would say the run game. I mean, it was just completely wrong, and that was a much need. I mean, we had to have a good running game if we wanted to win this game, and we didn't have a good run game, and we lost the game. I just think it's as simple as that. Davon Booth couldn't get anything. I think he had like 38 rushing yards. Johnny Daniels had a lot of attempts, and he only had, I mean, very little yards. He didn't play a very good game at all. I mean, this is our last right, wrong, missing. So we got to talk about, all year. We got Seth Davis coming back next year, Kevon Lee potentially coming back. And so we'll see how our run game is for next year. But I mean, we're losing Davon Booth, our leading rusher. So that's going to hurt us no matter what. I mean, unless we get somebody in the portal, those yards are going to have to go to other players, and they're just going to have to step up and play a whole lot better if they want to play as good as Davon Booth. And especially the last 2 games, we had to have a good running game, and we just couldn't get anything going. You call him boom or bust Booth. There was no, I mean, he wasn't having any booming runs for sure. I mean, he couldn't get anything going all game, and that went totally wrong for the Dogs.
Yeah, and it's really hard to get any sort of push against that Ole Miss defensive line. I mean, they're so talented, man, and they simply blew up the offensive line all throughout the game, and they couldn't get going. Johnny Daniels couldn't get going. Davon Booth could not get going. And that's what State need. I think we mentioned, like, State needs to have a 100-yard rusher in this game to have any sort of chance. And I think Booth finished with 36, 38 yards or so. Just they could not get going. I think what went wrong in this game for me, it really is just it's the turnover is really the biggest part. Michael Van Buren has, there's that play across the middle where really the play design looked awesome. And this is why you have to pay attention to the full picture. You can't just go interception. This coach is terrible. This team sucks. Fire everybody. The play that Levy drew up where Booth is across the middle, and it looked as if Michael Van Buren simply just couldn't get the ball to him. If Michael Van Buren's able to float the ball over the defender, Davon Booth is going for 6, and that's a totally different game. But he couldn't get it over there. It was intercepted. So the 2 picks by Michael Van Buren were bad. The fumble by Kevin Coleman, man, was just bad. And even then, the defense held Ole Miss to a field goal in that very possession when they get the ball that far down. Defense did everything they possibly could. But ultimately, those turnovers by Michael Van Buren and Kevin Coleman it was not enough, or it was too much to overcome. I do think State has something really big, and I guess we can go and discuss it now. If you're Mississippi State, Austin, now I don't know the exact figure of what Blake Shapen was given, but I've read several places, and I'm telling you the truth. I do not know this to be 100% factual, but SEC quarterback, it makes sense that it was about $500,000 to get Shapen to come back this season. Do you bring back Blake Shapen this season, or do you ride with Michael Van Buren and Kamario Taylor coming in next season? What do you do there before we get into what was missing?
So I think you got to bring. I mean, if you don't bring Shapen back, you have to bring somebody in the portal. Chris Parsons probably. I mean, I don't see why in the world Chris Parson would stay. And so, I mean, you're starting guys a true sophomore, and if your backup's going to be a true freshman, that's not a good recipe for success. If Blake Shapen leaves, I say we bring Shapen back. I mean, we're not. When we still have that money, we're just going to give him the exact same. We're not going to give him any more money. If he wanted more money, yeah, dude, go to Texas State or wherever you would go. But I mean, yeah, if he's just asking for the same amount of money, I think we definitely give it to him because Michael Van Buren, he has to get a lot better. Do not get me. That man has to get a whole lot better for us to even to go to a bowl game. Because I mean, if you look at looking at our schedule, next year, I'm not saying this without looking at our schedule. If we want to have any chance of beating Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, there's no doubt about it. If he wants to beat Ole Miss, he's got to play much better. I think we got to bring Blake Shapen in, and if we announce week 1 that Blake Shapen's our starter, I'm not mad at all. I'm absolutely not mad at all. I think, obviously, I think he's better than Michael Van Buren right now. It's just the upside. Michael Van Buren has a much, much higher ceiling than Blake Shapen has. So, I mean, we're not going to be competing for a national playoff team next year. So, I mean, do we just bring Michael Van Buren in? So, I think we got to I don't think we're going to get a player as good as Blake Shapen in the portal. So, I think we got to keep him.
Yeah, the only thing I'll worry about there is if Van Buren is pressured by that and he's like, well, forget this, man. I'm saving my redshirt year. I'm going redshirt now and enter the portal for next year. And I hate to even have to think about that, but you do wonder, what that would be like if they did bring Shapen back. But I'm with you. You need someone else to at least be pushed because Kamario Taylor's going to be a true freshman. He doesn't need to be playing. Need to give him a year to redshirt and learn. Yeah, I was wondering the same thing, and also though, one thing is for sure, you definitely don't need to put all your eggs in the basket of Blake Shapen being the main quarterback, just because his injury history at this point has been like it's well documented, it's shown. So yeah, I wonder if Shapen knows he can play somewhere else and be the sole starter, he leaves, which I would understand, and State just brings in another guy to kind of be a back. Think about like Ole Miss has Walker Howard. Walker Howard's probably trying to go somewhere to play or at least compete for a starting job. So I would expect him to enter the portal. That's a type of guy I think State needs to get. Someone who wants to compete for a starting job. If he doesn't get it, he understands what it is. But I think that's the goal. Austin, what was missing in this game for Mississippi State against Ole Miss? Ultimately, what was the thing that you wanted to see from them that you just they did not show up in the Egg Bowl?
Yeah, so in the first half, we didn't have a lot of just like drive down the field. It was a lot of just throwing down deep and getting Kelly Akari making huge catches, Kevin Coleman, and I feel like we just absolutely abandoned that. So I'm saying the second half play calling, We kind of depended on the deep ball for the first half, but it worked, so I can't be mad at it. But the second half, just offensively, not talking about defensively, just offensively, it was missing completely. I don't know. I mean, we looked like a whole different offense that second half. I don't know what in the world happened. Every time I think about that goal line stand, my heart hurts so bad. Like, I mean, it hurts way more than even the loss. That hurts so incredibly bad, and man, that took the life out of Mississippi State fans for sure. But yeah, I mean, the offensive play calling was not very good, and we just looked like a totally different offense. We weren't making the plays that we needed to be making, and I really don't know what happened. And we put a big goose egg in the second half, scoring the ball, so we couldn't get anything going, and it was just a lot of empty drives that were very rough to watch.
Yeah, I think in the end, what was missing for Mississippi State is the run game. I think the run game just opened up so many other opportunities. Ole Miss knew that State was going to have to throw, and at some point, it's a true freshman, quarterback, and so it was they did as much as they could, but without a running game, there's just you have your hands are tied behind your back. So it is a shame. But yeah, Mississippi State falls 14-26, and now Ole Miss will await their fate to see what is going to happen in the college football playoff. That's all coming very soon. We will know more things on Tuesday. I'm very, very excited about that. We'll actually discuss the college football playoff on Thursday's show, as well as some basketball. We will take a quick break and hear a quick ad from Neil, and then we will come back and finish up with some Mississippi State hoops as we finish up what went right, what went wrong, and what was missing for Mississippi State against Ole Miss. We'll be right back after this.
All MPW digital podcasts are brought to you by our friends at Parish Brewing Company, located in the heart of Cajun country in Broussard, Louisiana. Parish Brewing Company's simple goal is to make awesome craft brewed beer, and they do it remarkably well. The doctor is introducing their new go-to IPA, Dr. Juice. It's a highly crushable juice bomb, dry hopped with a blend of their favorite hand-selected hops from the Yakima Valley in Washington. Dr. Juice's drinkability is sneaky good, considering it clocks in at 6% ABV. The pour glows a rich cantaloupe hue with a thick frosted haze, soft mouthfeel, an aroma and taste that's full of passion fruit, papaya, and blood orange, making it drink like a glass of freshly squeezed juice. They also have Ghost in the Machine. It's a double IPA brewed with obscene quantities of hand-selected Citra hops from Yakima Valley. Expect pungent grapefruit flavors and aromas, tropical fruit, less harsh bitterness than most IPAs. Again, it's Parish Brewing Company. Wherever you get your beer, check out Parish. Make sure that you look for them, because any beer that you get from Parish is going to be absolutely outstanding. Thank you from MPW Digital.
And we're back. Austin, Mississippi State took on UNLV in their invitational and won 80-59. They dropped the very next game against Butler by double digits to bring their season total, I think it's 6-1. Losing their first game of the season. Josh Hubbard and a couple others had some tough time shooting the ball. But Mississippi State will be back at the hump on Wednesday against a very good Pitt team. Pitt, the last time they faced Pitt was in the NCAA tournament 2 years ago, and it was the play-in game, and Mississippi State was coming into them. And I remember kind of looking at that Pitt team I've not paid attention to in that season, and we get to play in, and Pitt is shooting lights out, and like 4 different people have shot and made multiple threes. And the commentator in the game is saying, and Pitt is a team that has maybe the highest 3-point percentage of the entire college basketball teams this year. And I remember thinking, like, man, that would be Mississippi State's luck to face an absolutely lights out shooting team. So Pitt is a really talented team. This win on Wednesday would be a very big win for State if they're able to pull it off. I will actually be at that game, covering that game. My dogs are credentialed for basketball as well. So we're very excited about covering that game. And in-state has some really big games coming up against McNeese State, the Cowboys. That's a really big game that has some tournament implications later on in the season. But For Mississippi State, Austin, man, where is this team at this point in the season? Where you expected them to be? Are they behind schedule, ahead of schedule?
No, I think they're just right on schedule. I think that Butler team was not bad at all. They beat SMU worse than we beat them. The Butler team was not bad at all. I mean, right when we get ranked, it sucks that we lose, but we had a pretty good win. I mean, UNLV wasn't really in that game. We had a great win against them, and then Butler, we just were forcing a lot of shots. We're not. I mean, the shots weren't falling, and it was really as simple as that. If you rewatch the game, the shots just were not falling. We were just putting up contested shots. We were just rushing. I don't really know what happened, but they were hitting threes. They were moving the ball very well, and they whatever they were doing was working. It was obviously a well coached team. Looking in, I just saw their last 5 games. I didn't really see what else, Butler could do or who they had. But, they got some guys. And, I think for the rest of the season, they're going to look really good. But we got to, this isn't a bad loss, but we can't be dropping any more games. This is big for us. This is a massive game in the hump. I bet there's going to be a lot of people there, a lot of people excited for what Chris Jans is bringing to Starkville. But this is going to be a massive game for us against Pitt on Wednesday. And then obviously, like you said, McNeese State, that's another massive game. And that's really a statement game to show that, we can beat a potential tournament team. And that's kind of a must win if we want to show that we're a legit 25 team.
Yeah, I think SMU is going to be a team that's is a bubble team. I don't think they're a lock for NCAA tournament, but this Pitt team is going to make the tournament. Pitt is 7-1. And beat Ohio State on the road in overtime, and they have several guys. They've had 3 different people that have been their leading scorers. I don't know if anyone remembers the giant 7-foot twins at Pitt, but by golly, they're still there. And so that they will be trouble down low. But they lost. Their only loss is to Wisconsin by 6 on the 24th of November. They beat LSU by 9. They beat West Virginia by 24. They beat Murray State by 16. So Pitt is a really, really talented team. I think their main kind of lead scorer that they have, I believe it's Ishmael Leggett. Yeah, Ishmael Leggett. He's averaging 18.4. Also has 7 rebounds a game. And can shoot the three with some pretty good consistency. They have several guys actually that can shoot the ball with good consistency. So State is going to have a lot of their work cut out for them in this game on Wednesday night. And you're right, a very big game. Hopefully, students can bring some sort of energy to that game. And then after Mississippi State plays Pitt, they host Prairie View A&M, McNeese in Tupelo on the 14th, Central Michigan on a Tuesday on the 17th. They go at Memphis on the 21st. That should be interesting. Then they play Bethune-Cookman on the 30th before getting into SEC play. So, honestly, man, if State can find a way to only drop one of those games, the big one, it's Pittsburgh at home, it's McNeese in Tupelo, and at Memphis. If they can find a way to only drop one of those 3, I think they would be sitting in a really good spot. They'd only have 2 losses going into conference play, and conference play is just it's what the SEC always is, man. It is a beast of a schedule. Add in going at Oklahoma this year, and having Texas in the hump on March 4th. Man, it's a lot of big stuff.
Yeah, I think we like you said, if we just drop one of those games, I'm feeling good. That Memphis game is going to be massive. But if we could drop that Memphis game, we got to beat Pitt on Wednesday. It's such a massive game, and obviously McNeese State, because we got to show that we can compete in the SEC. Chris Jans, it's year 3. We got to compete. We got to show that we're legit. We're a legit SEC team. We were, preseason ranked number 10 in SEC play. We got to show that we're a legit team, that we can win these big games, and we got to beat these SEC teams and shut them up.
And on Thursday's show, we will talk about the college football playoff, talk about basketball, but then also talk about the transfer portal. At this moment, it is December 1st, year of our Lord 2024. It's a little after 4:00 in the afternoon, and Mississippi State still has the same defensive coordinator. So don't know if that's going to change, but at the moment, that's how it is. So we will keep an eye on that and let you know any other news that comes in. State has had several JUCO players commit. They are hoping to go all in on the portal, man. Honestly, I'm very, very excited for this portal season. It's going to be a good time just watching everything unfold. People visit. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited to look at the different storylines around the league. Can Ole Miss reload and do the same thing that they did this offseason? Can South Carolina build anything based on the amazing momentum they have? It's going to be huge. So we will let you know on Thursday any updates there, and make sure you're following us on Twitter. It's just at MyDawgsPod. Make sure you're subscribed to us on Substack. At just at mydawgspod.substack, and make sure you have subscription to MPW Digital on YouTube, so you can also be in the loop there. But 10.5K subscribers, pretty outstanding. So we're excited to be a part of that here at My Dogs Are Barking. So thank you guys so much for listening to My Dogs Are Barking, and we will holler at you on Thursday.